Hi, I'm Nayana.
I'm Nadeem.
I'm Roshanara.
We're here to answer a few of the most commonly asked questions from us about the real estate market in Colombo and Sri Lanka in general. So I think you guys get this question a lot as well. One of the biggest questions I get asked these days, given what's going on in Sri Lanka, is the real estate market in Sri Lanka dead? And the obvious answer to that is no. Because when you look at real estate markets, you really need to look at it longer term, understand fundamentally where a country is going, fundamentally what's happening with a housing market in particular. And, I've said it in many forums, and so you guys, Sri Lanka's kind of urban transformation is very, very early stage still. So we still have something like 10% of our housing in apartments, 90% in single family housing. It's an anomaly for a capital city of any country, actually.
I mean, just to that point, if you consider a place like Malaysia and in the heart of KL, 60 to 70% of their apartments.
Singapore's like 95,
90%
Mumbai is like
99.
So it's
Almost.
yeah, exactly. So we're only going one direction.
Exactly.
And yes, we have a blip, and I really feel it's a blip in history. So you have a little bit of a slowdown, absolutely, but by no means is this market dead. It's maybe taking a breather, maybe fainted a little bit, but it's coming back. Roshna, maybe you have perspective on what's happening in the sales side of it.
So when you look at the sale, the real estate market has performed really well leading up to around, I think, end of March last year. So if you look at just on average developments that are completed or nearing completion, on average 75 to 80% sold. So it's really a handful of units left in the market. And if you look at, the very high-end apartments, the luxury segment, as we refer to it, there are just about 400 or 500 units left in the entire space. So it's not a lot of units.
And I'd like to touch on 2 points. So one point is in terms of pricing in Sri Lanka. And if you look at pricing right now in the market, compared to other regional markets, Sri Lanka is still very attractive. Even on the very high end, we are still at an average of $400 to $500 per square foot. You look at some of the regional markets, it's $1,000 per square foot upwards. So there's lots of potential because there's limited land in the heart of Colombo. Because if you look at the city, desirable land plots like what we have for some of our major projects in the city, you wouldn't be able to buy today. And construction cost has gone up exponentially. Land prices will continue to go up. And with that, you're not going to see the pricing that you have today in the near future.
So in reality, this kind of period of slowdown in a way is an opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Because it's a little bit of a buyer's market because it is a little slow, quite frankly. But on the other side, most projects are sold out. No new inventory coming in the near term. And this limited number of inventory in the next year or two, it's just going to get soaked up. Then you really have to think about what's going to happen to a capital city just off the tip of the fastest growing economy in the world with 1.4 billion people.
Exactly.
What is that going to be?
Exactly.
So I fully agree. I mean, I think it's just kind of an opportunity waiting. There is a question of what is the timing. But, in a period like this, I feel like it's an opportunity for those who have that little bit of risk tolerance to jump in. So by no means is Sri Lanka dead. I think Sri Lanka is going to come back stronger, and we see that in most of the markets that have gone through major crises like the Asian financial crisis, for example. Those countries came out stronger afterwards. So some of our fundamentals get reset. So short term, yes, it's a little slow. By no means is it dead.
I think we're already seeing a slight pickup in just general interest, inquiries coming in from our local investors, the diaspora segments. So things hopefully will turn around fast.
Absolutely.
For the
because
industry.
one of the things we saw, if you remember, was when interest rates started going through the roof, people started putting a lot of money in fixed income.
That's right.
And now all of a sudden we've got taxes coming in, which perhaps we as a nation have to have. But then all of a sudden those returns, kind of super return
come down.
That attractive anymore. And then, taxation on real estate on capital gains is like 10%. So all of a sudden, real estate looks a little bit more attractive again. And you're starting to see money going back. So this is a pendulum. Fundamentally, I think that Sri Lanka has quite a ways to go. I think it's an interesting opportunity because you have to take a long view on real estate markets. And the long view on Sri Lanka is still very, very positive.
And real estate has always been considered a good hedge against inflation.
Absolutely. Volatile times, real estate is the place to be.
Exactly.
And Sri Lanka is kind of volatile. Historically has been. And real estate has always kind of performed consistently well over the last 20, 30 years. The second question I get asked a lot, particularly from friends and family overseas, and of course clients that reach out to us from overseas is it a good time for foreigners to buy in Sri Lanka? Is it too risky for foreigners to buy in Sri Lanka? Nadeem, what is your view on that?
Roshanara and I face this quite often. Where you have customers that kind of ask us, there's this kind of general misconception about pricing in Sri Lanka, and people think that Sri Lanka is priced very high in terms of condominiums. But you have to understand that you're buying an apartment in the heart of the city.
All condos, so that's the thing, right? This is under 10%. Practically all condos that are for sale in Sri Lanka are in downtown.
That's right.
And if you want to buy in the burbs or in the boonies,
exactly,
you can buy it for peanuts. So you always have to compare apples to apples.
Yes. Exactly.
So for a downtown, I agree.
And I think you look at projects like Trizen, you can get an apartment in the heart of the city at $140,000 upwards. I guarantee you that there's nowhere else in any major city in the region or even overseas where you could get an apartment to the standard of Trizen in the heart of the city at $150,000.
For those who don't know what Trizen is, Trizen is, of course, one of our developments. 890 apartments, absolutely cutting edge. 891 smart homes, cutting edge on so many frontiers.
Lots of recreational facilities.
Yeah. But again, people are kind of blown away that they can get that kind of product in downtown. But this is not about product.
Sure. Yes, so the other question we get asked is this the right time to invest in real estate in Colombo and Sri Lanka? I definitely think so. It is the right time. People have their concerns. Of course, Sri Lanka has been through this economic crisis, but we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now. The IMF deal is expected to go through towards the end of this month. We are seeing the currency stabilizing, and we believe, like I said before, there's only limited inventory left in the market. And I think now is the opportunity to come in before that resurgence starts. And I think that's why I feel that anyone investing now, you're investing at the right point.
So this other question on is the timing right? I think the other thing to kind of remember is that, as we talked about earlier, it's an interesting juncture, right? Construction cost has altered. Construction cost has gone up like 67% for a variety of reasons. Pricing of the inventory has not. So any new build will be fundamentally higher priced. So you've got this window with a little bit of residual inventory that will get soaked up in the next year or two that you can get somewhat at a bit of a bargain. So that's something to kind of think about as well.
Also, just touching on just the process for foreigners to invest in an apartment in Colombo, Sri Lanka, it's actually pretty straightforward. You just need to open an inward investment account, route your funds through that, and it's also easy because if you sell or even your rental income can be just repatriated back through the
tried and tested, and it's kind of a
smooth
process. Yeah, I think this question of is this the right time comes from a lot of people, particularly Sri Lankans living overseas, who are kind of looking at retirement. They live in really cold places. Yes, warm summer bad. Kids grown up. You want a little piece of home. So you see a lot of that, and we get lots. I get lots of people asking me, "Look, is this the right time? Want to come home? Want to have a piece of home? Is this the right time?" So I think it is, and I think the worst of whatever Sri Lanka has thrown at us is over. Of course, it's been a rough couple of years, but we are seriously seeing kind of our way out of this, and there's this kind of limited opportunity. So I think it's not a bad time.
So Nana, a lot of people ask me this question all the time. How has JKP kind of stayed the course through this very volatile, turbulent, unprecedented times that we face?
Truly unprecedented. But I'm actually really proud of the way we tanked through all of it. At one level, I think our team really buckled down. I think we had COVID, we had this crisis, we had these Easter bombs. Through all of it, we worked like straight through. I think ours were like the only construction sites in the city for sure, probably a large part of the country, that kept going. And I think that's just inspiring to me that our guys and girls could really just get it done and keep going.
When we didn't have fuel, we had people cycling to work.
Yeah.
Get their job done, and I thought that was amazing.
And
right?
while lots of people can work from home, you can't build buildings from home, so we had to go the extra mile, get people fully kitted up with full like safety suits on the site. So it was a challenge, but I think so at one level I just think it's the grit of our team and then the passion of our team that got us through. Second, I think is just meticulous amounts of planning that goes into it, into making sure everything is worked out, everything is clear, and how we handle these complicated situations. We obviously plan, when we plan our project, we plan for downside risk. So we had the buffers, we had plans to deal with kind of crisis. Nothing of this nature, but even the fact that we had really prepared ourselves well helped us. And I think third, of course, is just John Keels. John Keels being John Keels. It's been around for 150 years.
Yes.
Very, very deep pockets. A lot of things have been thrown at us over the last 100 years. So we take this one in stride. So I think it's just strength of the company, strength of the people, and strength of planning. Anything else?
Roshanano, you would remember last year, right, in the midst of this crisis, we had our best sales ever. I mean, there was 1 month now,
Yes,
recall,
yes.
that we sold over 100 units.
We actually had a line to sign SPAs.
Yes,
That's something I've never seen.
exactly.
It's really quite
and this is
remarkable.
all in the midst of a crisis. And I think that really shows the kind of resilience of John Keel's properties and the trust that people have with John
that's
Keel's
what it
properties.
is. That's
Yes.
really what it is.
It really boils down to the trust the customers have with JK.
Absolutely. So I guess maybe Nadeem, I mean, the building we're sitting in right here
Yes,
was completed during the pandemic. I mean,
exactly. And we started the
Handovers
handovers
also
during the pandemic
pandemic.
as well.
so we hit key milestones, right?
So we hit some key major milestones during the pandemic. I think one of it was actually handing over the residence and the suites at Cinnamon Life, which is 427 apartments. We've handed over almost all the apartments to date, and we just have about 30% of our inventory left to sell.
And we finished the office building, right? We finished the office building in the middle of the pandemic.
That's right.
We signed a landmark lease transaction
With
HCL.
Yeah.
During the middle of the pandemic. So it was tough times, but I think we actually got a lot done. Which is quite quite remarkable. The other thing is we topped off Trizen
Exactly.
at 199.97 meters.
Yes.
I was
Still my
too
brain.
scared to come up.
Yeah.
It
Still doesn't take.
I can't take the hoist lift.
But we topped it off
Yes.
again in the middle of the pandemic. And I remember going up with all your
Full
PPE
PPE.
and shoveling concrete last couple of spades. So I think it's been a rough couple of years, but it's looking back, it's amazing what we were able
So
to
record sales, topping off of buildings, handing over
do. Buildings
visitors.
all in the middle of like
All
the
of-
worst crisis that has been thrown at us. Okay, so maybe it's what I guess we all have different roles, do different things. Maybe go to talk about what are you guys or what are all of us kind of excited about?
I mean, I'm really excited about the next phase of Cinnamon Life. I think that's really going to transform Sri Lanka and transform Colombo. and I think transform the whole tourism industry into Sri Lanka with the whole meetings, conferences, exhibitions, the entertainment aspect of it. It's something that Colombo has never seen before.
I get a somewhat unique vantage point into this because I bring sometimes investors and various people through, and very few people have actually seen behind the scenes, but every single person that has seen it has been blown away with the level of detail that we've gone into, not in the building alone. It's just of course the building and the architecture, but the kind of experience that we are kind of curating for Cinnamon Life. I agree, fundamentally transformative.
Yeah, exciting. I think for me, it would be completion of Trizen. I think when I joined JKP, it was at that conceptualization stage. To see it kind of go from where we were, if you remember, Nadi, when we started with just our layouts to
Pencil
see
sketches,
Right, and going and sitting
to
just on
now,
that, yeah.
to see the building topped off and, just almost
The tallest building in the city.
the tallest
Almost
building
done.
in the city.
Almost done.
Yeah, 75% sold. So I'm just really excited about that completing and handing over the apartment. And it's the first smart home. So
Yeah, to me too. I mean, I think Trizen pushed the frontiers on so many levels. So that's coming, it's completing. Cinnamon Life pushing the frontiers again on so many levels. That's completing.
I mean, if you remember, Nana, when we were conceptualizing Trizen, people told us that this would not work.
It's not possible.
890 apartments in the heart of the city.
You
in
can't
one
do it.
location, you can't do
You
it.
can't do it.
Right.
and even the one bedroom, the concept of one bedrooms was
Yeah.
so new to the market.
Yeah. Then the other thing that we're finishing, which I'm also really excited about, is Victoria, right? Like we finished the refurbishment through all this drama. We started building the villas. The first batch is going to be done this year. That's going to operation this year. So lots of. I think this coming year and a half is going to be big for us. I'm excited that we finish a lot of stuff that we've been slaving away at. But to be honest, what I'm more excited about is what we're working on. I can't talk about it on camera. You know some of it,
Some of it, we can't say much.
but
But-
it's cool. So all I can say is need a bit more time, but when the time's right, there'll more stuff to come.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
And that again, Nana, people would think, we're crazy to start a development in this kind of situation in the country, but
I think at this point our team is used to being
Yes.
told you guys are crazy.
exactly.
I've actually got to the point where if nobody tells you you're crazy, that means you're really not pushing the frontier enough. And that's where this whole thing of creating new worlds comes from. That's kind of who we are.
There you go.
If we're not pushing a frontier, we're just an ordinary developer. I feel like we just fundamentally change the game. So that's a wrap.